Welcome to How to Play Horus Heresy 3rd Edition. In this video, we are going to explain and discuss how to use the Master of Signals. When he launched his galaxy-spanning civil war to usurp his father and claim the throne of Terra, Horus Lupercal, War Master and Primarch of the 16th Legion Astartes, knew that his war would not just be won by bolt and blade alone. He knew that the war would also depend on data, information, and lines of communication, the essential lifeblood of any armed force in the Age of Darkness. This is why in these darkest of days, those who could interpret and direct the dizzying array of data and communications an Astartes Legion depended on were prized assets on the most brutal of battlefields. These experts, often the sole master of an army's communication network and logistics, could win a battle with but a handful of data points, a skein of coordinates, a static laden command, or the summoning of vital reinforcements from outside the battle. A vital link between those desperately fighting and distant support elements of a legion in battle, the Master of Signals is a strategic and communications specialist capable of interpreting and directing the flow of battle around them, calling in reinforcements where needed, and feeding units key strategic insights and orders to ensure their effectiveness in the horrors of the battlefields of the far future. If you are looking for other videos on how to play the game, then you can find them all on the channel in a dedicated playlist. And if this video helps you, then please give it a like, consider sharing it with a fellow Heresy player, and let me know how you are enjoying the rules of the new edition. You could also consider joining the Hopeless Heresy Legion by subscribing and hitting the bell for more Horus Heresy goodness. You can unlock a Master of Signals for your army using a Command Force Organization slot. In this slot, you can have a single Master of Signals model with no upgrades for 115 points. The Master of Signals has a comparable stat line to most other console level models. He has a weapon skill and ballistic skill of 5, a strength and toughness of 4, 3 wounds, 4 attacks, and an initiative of 5. His mental stats are slightly lower than most other consoles, having a leadership of 8 and a cool and willpower of 7. However, he has one of the highest intelligence stats in the army, with a massive 10 intelligence.
Well, you're a nerd!
He has a 2+ saving throw and a 5+ invulnerable save. He is also a command subtype and has the Legiones Astartes trait. If taken in a command slot, he unlocks a further detachment for your army. A standard Master of Signals comes equipped with a bolt pistol, frag grenades and crack grenades. His weaponry is kept light as he is also carrying his most useful piece of equipment, the Command Vox Relay. A Master of Signals' only weapon upgrade is his pistol, which can be exchanged for any weapon from the Legion pistols list. For 5 points, he can change his pistol to a plasma pistol, a hand flamer, a Volkite Serpenta, or one of the Legion specific pistols available to your specific Legion. Initially, the Master of Signals loadout may seem disappointing considering his stat line. However, he is not a frontline combatant. Instead, your Master of Signals supports your wider army through his advanced suite of communication and data analysis tools known as the Command Vox Relay. The Command Vox Relay performs 2 distinct functions. It allows you to bring units in from reserves and deep strike more reliably, and it allows you to modify the abilities of units on the battlefield to make scoring easier and more effective. The Master of Signals must be on the table to utilise the Command Vox Relay, so cannot be in reserves himself or mounted in a vehicle. You can only use the Command Vox Relay once the Master of Signals boots are on the ground. Let's look at the Command Vox Relay's functions individually. First of all, let's talk about its effects on reserves. While a model equipped with a Command Vox Relay is on the battlefield, you can make the reserves test of one of your units in reserves easier to pass each turn. Each Command Vox Relay can only affect one reserves test per turn. To do this, before you roll the reserves test for the desired unit in reserves, you would declare that your Master of Signals is going to use his Command Vox Relay. You do not need to pass any kind of test to activate it, you simply need to declare you are using it. This specific reserves test will become easier by +1, so instead of needing 3+ to come in from reserves, your unit will instead require a 2+. Once used, the Command Vox Relay cannot be used again this turn, but can from the following turn. If you fail the required reserves test, this still counts as a use of the Command Vox Relay. This can be used for units who deploy from reserves via both outflank and deep strike. However, importantly, the Command Vox Relay has no effect on aerial reserves. Note that you can use the Command Vox Relay to improve a reserves test roll, pass the test, and then choose not to bring the unit onto the battlefield. It does not make that deployment mandatory. This is fantastic for allowing you a far greater degree of control of when your units come into the battlefield. Separate from this is the Command Vox Relay's second ability. A unit with a Command Vox Relay is able to provide target units from the same faction a temporary buff of either Line 1 or Vanguard 1 special rules. Note that they must be from the same faction, so you could not use this ability on an allied model, only models from the same faction. In the start phase of your turn, during the effects subphase, you can declare that you want to activate the Command Vox Relay. Once activated, your model must pass an intelligence test. A Master of Signals is intelligence 10, so we need to score 10 or under on 2d6 to pass this test. If the test is failed, nothing further occurs and the turn continues as normal. If the test is passed, then the player can select a friendly unit on the table that is made up entirely of models from the same faction. The player then selects one of the following effects for that unit. The unit gains the Line 1 special rule until the end of your turn, or the unit gains the Vanguard 1 special rule until the end of your turn. Any actions the unit takes during the course of the turn will benefit from the chosen special rule. Note that if a unit already had Line and you gave it Vanguard, it would temporarily lose the Line ability. And if a unit has Vanguard and you gave it Line, it would also temporarily lose the Vanguard ability. There is no stacking up on multiple contradictory rules. As well as the benefits, the unit will also have the drawbacks, so a unit with temporary Vanguard 1 will be incapable of scoring more than 1 point for claiming an objective. Also note that providing an existing Line unit or Vanguard unit with the Command Vox Relay buff would not add an additional +1 bonus to their existing special rule. It literally replaces any instances with either Line 1 or Vanguard 1. Also note that neither of these buffs overwrite the support unit's special rule, so units with support unit 1 will still only score a single victory point from claiming an objective. Similarly, if units are totally incapable of scoring from objectives such as vehicles or heedless units, then the Line 1 will not benefit them in any way. Once your turn ends, the unit will lose the temporary buff and revert back to whatever special rules they had prior to the effects of the Command Vox Relay. Again, a single model with a Command Vox Relay can only trigger this effect once per turn. If you wanted to perform multiple instances of this ability, you would require multiple models with Command Vox Relays. This is a fantastically flexible effect, allowing you to snatch vital victory points from unexpected quarters. Maybe you provide a super heavy long range vehicle with Vanguard 1 to score some points from afar without triggering enemy reactions, or maybe you buff a normally poor scoring unit to claim a vital Line 1. Note that the Line 1 also effectively increases the amount of models that the unit counts as when contesting objectives. Also note that both of the Command Vox Relay's effects, the Reserves Test buff and the Unit buff, can both be used in the same turn by the same Command Vox Relay. It is the start of my turn, and I have a Master of Signals on the board. I have 2 units in reserves, a Rhino with a tactical squad in regular reserves, and an assault squad who will deploy via deep strike. I also have a Dreadclaw drop pod with a Contemptor Dreadnought embarked within it. In my start phase, I want to use my Master of Signals Command Vox Relay to buff another unit already on the table. I need to pass an intelligence test with my Master of Signals. To do this, I would roll 2d6 and I would need to score equal to or under my Master of Signals intelligence stat to pass. Looking at his intelligence stat, I see he has a score of 10. I roll 2d6 and score a 5, a pass. Now I can choose any friendly unit on the table with the same faction as my Master of Signals to provide a buff. I buff a nearby laser rapier battery, giving them Vanguard 1. This unit now has Vanguard 1, and if it is able to kill with its shooting attack a valid unit that is scoring an objective, It will net me an additional victory point. In my movement phase, I would need to roll for my reserves test to see if I can bring my units on from reserves. I would need to roll a reserves test for each unit and then choose whether to bring them on or keep them in reserves. I really need my assault squad on the board, so I declare to my opponent that I will use the Command Vox Relay to improve the reserves test for that unit. The Command Vox Relay will improve the test by +1. A standard reserves test is 3+, and the Command Vox Relay now makes it 2+. Note that I did not need to pass an intelligence test to use this effect, I simply needed to declare it to my opponent. I roll my reserves test and score a 2, a close success. I must roll my other tests as well before I deploy anything. I failed the reserves test for the Rhino, but I pass with the Dreadclaw drop pod. Note that I could not use the Command Vox Relay on the Rhino this turn, as I have already used it on another unit, and I also could not use it on the Dreadclaw drop pod, as this uses an aerial reserves test, not a reserves test. I deploy the assault squad and the Dreadclaw, leaving the Rhino in reserves. I play my turn, and at the end my rapiers then lose their Vanguard 1. In my next turn, I can use the Command Vox Relay again to buff another unit, which I do for the assault squad. I give them line 1. This temporarily removes their Vanguard 1 and makes them better at claiming objectives. I can also use the Command Vox Relay for my Rhino, improving its reserves rolls to 2+. This time I pass, and the Rhino is on the board. Again, I could not use the Command Vox Relay on the Dreadclaw, as it is part of aerial reserves. You can also take a Master of Signals with a jump pack, or mounted on an Outrider bike or a jet bike. These costs 135, 145 and 155 points respectively. Each variant maintains the same basic loadout of the standard Master of Signals, including the pistol upgrade, and all carry the Command Vox Relay. The Outrider variant has twin bolters on its bike, which can be upgraded to twin plasma guns for +15 points, while the jet bike variant has a much wider variety of heavy weapons, coming as standard with a heavy bolter, which can be switched to a Volkite Culverin for 10 points, a plasma cannon for 15 points, and a multi-melta for 20 points. The Master of Signals is not the only model in your army which has a Command Vox Relay. For 120 points, you can also take the Damocles Command Rhino, a Rhino with a diminished transport capacity of 6 models, but a Command Vox Relay mounted on its hull. When using the Command Vox Relay for the Damocles Command Rhino, the Rhino will count as having an intelligence stat of 8. A Master of Signals is an excellent unit with a huge amount of both flexibility and tactical nuance. What it lacks in straight combat power, it more than makes up for in utility. Its buff to reserves rolls is incredibly powerful, making reserves, outflanks and deep strikes even more reliable. And beyond that, the Command Vox Relay's ability to grant line and vanguard is strategically huge, opening avenues to victory points that your army would normally lack. However, as he lacks the normal combat heft of other consoles, you'll want to either keep him in cover as far away from the front line as possible, or place him in a squad of protectors that can ensure his survival. And that is the fundamentals of the Master of Signals. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.